Power is not given to those who seek comfort. It bows only to those who understand the cruelty of the mind, the theater of deception, and the art of restraint. Tonight, I will not teach you how to be kind. I will teach you how to be untouchable. For the world respects the unshaken, not the innocent. The first lesson is simple yet despised by the weak. Stop expecting fairness. Life is not a courtroom, it is a battlefield. The strong do not cry for justice, they create it. If you wait for others to be fair, you are already defeated. Let the unfairness of the world sharpen you, not soften you. When betrayal comes, and it will smile. For in that moment, you are learning the true currency of power's control over your own reaction. The first lesson, stop expecting fairness, is the foundation upon which all mental strength is built. It sounds cruel, perhaps even cold, but truth is never warm. The expectation of fairness is one of the greatest illusions humanity has ever clung to. From childhood, we are fed the comforting lie that if we do good, good will return to us, that honesty is rewarded, that effort guarantees success, that justice governs the world. But step into reality, and you will see that life does not obey such sentimental arithmetic. The world is not ruled by fairness, it is ruled by forces, power, perception, timing, and control. Fairness is a story told to soothe the masses, while the few who understand the game use that illusion to advance. The moment you stop expecting fairness, you stop waiting for others to play by rules they never agreed to. You cease being a pawn moved by disappointment and begin to move like a strategist. Calculating, deliberate, emotionally armored, fairness is a dream invented by the powerless to make sense of a chaotic world. It is a way to endure pain without purpose. It's not fair, we say, when betrayal cuts deep or when hard work goes unnoticed. But fairness is not the fabric of the universe. It is a human wish, a child's plea to an indifferent sky. The wise man does not waste his breath appealing to the heavens. He understands that nature favors the cunning and the adaptable, not the deserving. When you stop expecting fairness, you begin to see the world as it is, not as you wish it to be. You start noticing that people do not act according to moral codes, but according to interests. They will support you as long as it benefits them. They will betray you the moment it doesn't. Their loyalty is not to you, but to what you represent: opportunity, comfort, protection, gain. Once that dissolves, so does their devotion. If you build your peace upon the illusion of fairness, their betrayal will destroy you. But if you build your peace upon understanding that everyone acts in self-interest, then betrayal becomes predictable and therefore powerless. Look at history. Look at kingdoms, look at modern power structures. Fairness has never been the foundation of order. Strength and perception have always ruled. The just man who believes the world will reward his purity is devoured by wolves who smile as they praise his virtue. The clever man who accepts the cruelty of the world learns how to navigate it, how to bend it, how to rise through it without losing his sanity. Let us go deeper. Expecting fairness is not only naive, it is a silent poison. It breeds resentment. You begin to see yourself as a victim, and nothing rots the soul faster than victimhood. The victim cannot act. He only waits. He waits for the world to recognize his worth, for people to see his goodness, for justice to descend like divine rain. But while he waits, others act. They maneuver. They seize. They shape the world through will, not wish. The victim prays to be rescued. The strategist learns to rescue himself. Understand this clearly. The world is not fair because fairness demands equality of outcome, and outcomes depend on choices, timing, and ruthlessness, qualities not evenly distributed among men. One man hesitates, another strikes. One man seeks peace, another exploits that peace. One man prays, another plans. How then could fairness ever exist in a world where not all minds think alike? Once you internalize this, you will cease to suffer from misplaced trust. You will stop expecting that your goodness guarantees loyalty, that your sacrifice will be remembered, or that truth always defeats deceit. No, goodness without power is invisible. Sacrifice without witness is forgotten. Truth without strategy is silenced. The powerful are not always good, but the good who understand power endure. To stop expecting fairness is not to become cruel, it is to become free. It is liberation from disappointment, from naivete hope, from the endless emotional bleeding that comes when reality doesn't match your fantasies. When you remove fairness from your mental equation, life becomes a game of positioning, not prayer. You start to think, given the nature of people, given the interests at play, how do I move? Rather than, why would they do this to me? The first question makes you stronger, the second keeps you weak. There is another truth buried here. People respect strength, not fairness. The world bends to those who adapt. When you stand firm in the storm, not crying for justice but calculating your next move, you gain an aura that others can sense. They may not like you, but they will respect you. They will think twice before crossing you, because they will feel that you are not governed by emotion. You are governed by awareness. This awareness allows you to navigate injustice without losing balance. When someone betrays you, you don't collapse. You assess. You ask, what did they gain? Not, how could they? You learn to anticipate betrayal before it arrives. You start to recognize patterns. The flattery before the deception, the sudden warmth before the cold strike. And because you expect nothing from the world, every advantage you gain feels like conquest, not charity. Do not misunderstand, rejecting fairness does not mean abandoning morality. It means choosing strategy over self-pity. You can still act with integrity, but you must not depend on others to mirror it. Be good because it aligns with your strength, not because you expect it to be reciprocated. Do not let your goodness be a leash. Let it be a choice made by a mind that understands the world's cruelty, but refuses to be consumed by it. Fairness is a story. Power is a law. When you stop expecting fairness, you start learning the laws. Human nature, social hierarchy, influence, manipulation, timing. You realize that those who rise do so not because the universe favored them, but because they understood its indifference. They shaped outcomes through intelligence and endurance. They mastered patience, emotional detachment, and strategic ruthlessness. Ask yourself this: how many times have you been hurt because you assumed others thought like you? You gave loyalty expecting loyalty, honesty expecting honesty. You believed effort guaranteed appreciation. Each disappointment was not life punishing you. It was life teaching you that your expectations were illusions. The pain was not cruelty, it was revelation. Once you stop expecting fairness, you cannot be manipulated by guilt or sentiment. No one can lure you with promises of what's right, because you know that right is often a disguise for useful. You can listen to others without being deceived by their moral appeals. You can remain calm while others rage about justice. You stand apart, not heartless but awake, and in that awakening, something extraordinary happens: peace. Not the fragile peace of comfort, but the unshakable peace of understanding. When you no longer expect fairness, you cease to be surprised by cruelty, and you begin to prepare for it. You live with readiness, not resentment. You move with foresight, not fear. You respond to betrayal with silence, not despair. So let the weak cry for fairness. Let the naive pray for justice. You must build a mind that sees the storm and does not beg for it to stop, but learns how to walk through it. The world does not owe you fairness, it owes you nothing. But that is your greatest freedom, because when you expect nothing, you can lose nothing, and when you can lose nothing, you become mentally untouchable. The second lesson: never let emotions sit on the throne of your mind. Anger, jealousy, fear, these are loyal servants that make terrible kings. Feel them, but never feed them. The one who controls emotion commands perception, and perception is what rules the world. People fear not the loud, but the calm. The calm man terrifies, for he cannot be predicted, and the unpredictable cannot be conquered. The second lesson: never let emotions sit on the throne of your mind, is the mark of every unshakable soul who has learned that power is not only about strength, but control. Most people believe that emotions are what make us human, and they are right. But what they forget is this: emotions were never meant to rule. They were meant to serve. The moment you let them rule, you become a prisoner of your own nature. The man who cannot master his emotions will be mastered by those who can. Emotions are the easiest strings to pull. They are the most powerful tools in manipulation, the softest parts of your armor. Those who understand how to provoke them rule you. They know which words to use, which silences to hold, which looks to give to make you act against your own interest. The world is full of people who study not logic, but reaction. They do not need to be smarter than you, only calmer. Because the calm man always controls the emotional man. When anger takes your throne, you fight blindly. When fear takes it, you hide from opportunities. When jealousy takes it, you destroy what you could have cherished. When sadness sits there, you stop moving. The wise know that these emotions are not to be erased. That would make you mechanical, but to be governed. Like fire, they can warm or burn. The mind is the hand that decides which. Let us begin with anger, the most seductive of all emotions. It whispers to you that you are strong when you raise your voice, that you are powerful when you retaliate. But anger is not strength, it is exposure. It shows your opponent where to strike. The one who can provoke your anger owns your direction. They push one button and you explode. You are not in command, you are commanded. The strong man feels anger, but he does not act on it until he decides the moment is his. He uses it like a blade, cold, sharp, precise. Now fear, the silent poison. Fear disguises itself as caution, as logic, as wisdom, but most of the time it is the death of movement. Fear tells you that you must wait until the moment is safe, but there is no safety, only delay. Fear keeps great men small because it convinces them that the world will crush them if they try. The truth: the world already crushes those who never try. The only way to defeat fear is to act while feeling it. Courage is not the absence of fear, it is the refusal to let fear rule. When fear rules, your throne is empty. When courage rules, fear bows before you. Then comes jealousy, the disease of the small-minded. It whispers that another's success diminishes your own, that someone else's light makes your shadow longer. Jealousy blinds you to your own strength. It shifts your focus from creation to comparison. It turns potential into poison. But understand this: the one who makes you jealous owns your attention, and where your attention goes, your energy follows. To be mentally untouchable, you must become indifferent to comparison. Let others chase recognition, you chase mastery. The one who competes with himself cannot be touched by envy. Sadness: it too is an emotion that seeks your throne. It arrives quietly, pretending to be wisdom, convincing you that life has lost its meaning. But sadness is not truth, it is a shadow. It feeds on passivity. The longer you entertain it, the stronger it grows. The cure for sadness is not to deny it, but to move through it. Action is the antidote. The man who acts while his heart is heavy commands his own fate. Emotional mastery is not suppression, it is strategy. Suppression is weakness disguised as strength, the bottle waiting to burst. True control is the art of acknowledging emotion without surrendering to it. When you feel rage, observe it. When you feel fear, study it. When you feel pain, ask, what is this trying to teach me? That pause, that breath between impulse and action, is where power lives. Every conqueror, every leader, every mind that has shaped history has mastered that pause. Why? Because decisions made under emotion are almost always wrong. Emotion distorts perception. It magnifies offense, exaggerates threat, glorifies illusion. You see enemies where there are none, opportunities where there is danger, loyalty where there is manipulation. Emotion makes fools of men who are otherwise intelligent. It makes them act before they think, speak before they should, trust before they know. And once the damage is done, no apology or regret can rebuild what impulse destroyed. Control of emotion is the true form of power because it cannot be faked. Anyone can act calm for a moment, but only the disciplined can remain calm when provoked. The calm man unnerves his enemies because he denies them what they crave most: reaction. When others insult him, he watches. When they lie about him, he smiles. When they test him, he learns. This silence, this self-command, is what gives him authority. People sense that his peace cannot be stolen, and that is terrifying. Understand something deeper: emotions are natural, but most of them are borrowed. You think they are yours, but they are often the result of others' influence. The media tells you what to fear. Society tells you what to envy. Relationships tell you what to desire. Strangers on a screen tell you what to hate. You are not truly feeling, you are being programmed. Emotional independence means reclaiming your reactions from the world's manipulation. It means feeling only what you choose to feel, when you choose to feel it. How do you build this control? Through awareness and discipline. Observe your emotions as if they belong to someone else. Detach. When you feel anger, say, there it is. When you feel fear, say, I see you. That awareness separates you from the emotion. You stop being inside it and begin to see it as a tool. Then, discipline. Control your breath, your tone, your body. The body fuels emotion. When you control the body, the mind follows. Speak slower when angry. Move slower when afraid. The slower your reactions, the harder it is for emotion to hijack your mind. And never forget, emotional control is the highest form of self-respect. When you let anger dictate your words, you give your enemy your dignity. When you let fear silence you, you hand them your future. When you let sadness consume you, you abandon your potential. Every time emotion wins, you lose a piece of your sovereignty. The mind is your kingdom. Guard it. You may ask, but does control make me cold? No, it makes you effective. The world does not need more emotional chaos. It needs calm fire. The man who controls his emotions can still love deeply, fight fiercely, laugh loudly. But he does so by choice, not compulsion. His love is loyal, not blind. His fight is strategic, not reactive. His laughter is free, not forced. That is not coldness, that is mastery. Look around. Most people are slaves to mood. A single word ruins their day. A single rejection kills their confidence. They carry their emotions like chains, and then wonder why they feel powerless. But those who rule their emotions move like kings among beggars. They do not seek validation. They do not beg for peace. Their peace is internal, built on understanding, not circumstance. To never let emotions sit on the throne of your mind is to choose freedom over chaos. It means you decide when to feel, how to act, and when to remain still. It means you are guided by reason, not reaction, by vision, not impulse. When others rage, you calculate. When they panic, you prepare. When they despair, you move. And in that composure lies the essence of power. So remember, emotions are your soldiers, not your rulers. Let them march under your command. When you command anger, it becomes passion. When you command fear, it becomes vigilance. When you command pain, it becomes strength. But if you surrender to them, they will turn your kingdom to ashes. Rule your emotions, and no man, no betrayal, no circumstance will ever rule you. That is how you become mentally untouchable. Third, detach from praise and insult alike. The same crowd that cheers for you today will burn your name tomorrow. If you live by their approval, you will die by their rejection. Build your fortress within. Let compliments pass through you as wind through the halls of a castle. When neither flattery nor scorn can move you, you have become untouchable. The third lesson, detach from praise and insult alike, is among the hardest for the human mind to master. Yet it is the clearest line that separates those who rule themselves from those who are ruled by the opinions of others. Most people live as slaves to approval. They chase applause like beggars chasing coins, and when the applause fades, so does their worth. They are lifted by flattery and destroyed by criticism. They are not living, they are reacting. To become mentally untouchable, you must rise above both. Praise and insult are the same poison poured into different cups. One tastes sweet, the other bitter, but both enslave you if you drink too deeply. Praise feeds your ego, makes you dependent on validation, and blinds you to your flaws. Insult wounds your pride, triggers your insecurity, and chains your thoughts to the opinions of others. In both cases, your peace no longer belongs to you. It is in the hands of the crowd, and the crowd is fickle. Understand this truth: the same voices that cheer you today will condemn you tomorrow. Human admiration is as temporary as the wind. Warm one moment, cold the next. One act of defiance, one unpopular truth, and the same people who worshipped you will delight in your downfall. They never loved you. They loved the reflection of themselves they saw in your actions. The moment that reflection changes, their affection evaporates. So what is the solution? Detachment. It does not mean arrogance or apathy. It means building your identity on something stronger than opinion, something that cannot be given or taken by others. Detachment is the art of remaining centered when surrounded by noise. It is the power to hear praise and not rise, to hear insult and not fall. It is not indifference, it is immunity. When someone praises you, thank them, but never inhale their words. Compliments are often subtle traps. Some praise to manipulate, to make you feel safe, to disarm your caution. They tell you what you want to hear so that your guard lowers, your standards soften, and your ego inflates. The moment you depend on their approval, they hold the strings. They can control you not with chains, but with silence. They can make you doubt yourself simply by withholding the praise you crave. The wise man understands that genuine recognition is rare and fleeting, and he does not build his foundation upon it. He knows that if he becomes addicted to applause, he will one day betray himself just to hear it again. Many fall from greatness not because of failure, but because they became intoxicated by admiration. Praise becomes their drug, and soon they will say or do anything to maintain it, even abandon their principles. The applause that once lifted them becomes the cage that imprisons them. On the other hand, insult is a gift wrapped in venom. It shows you where people's envy hides. It exposes their fear of your power, their discomfort with your confidence. When someone insults you, they are revealing their weakness. The fool reacts with rage. The wise one studies the insult, looking for truth within it. If there is truth, he learns. If there is none, he laughs. In both cases, he grows. The insult never controls him. It serves him. The calm man who can be neither flattered nor offended becomes mysterious, even intimidating. People cannot manipulate what they cannot move. When they praise him, he remains grounded. When they insult him, he remains calm. This composure unsettles them, for they cannot find his buttons to press. He becomes untouchable not because he hides emotion, but because he owns it. Consider this. Your worth is not increased by someone's compliment, nor is it diminished by someone's criticism. Both are reflections of others' perceptions, and perception is shaped by bias, ignorance, and personal interest. To build your self-image on external voices is to construct a castle on sand. One wave of public opinion, and all that confidence crumbles. True power comes from self-verification, not public validation. You must know your value through awareness, not applause. You must measure yourself by your discipline, not by the reactions of others. The one who lives by the crowd dies by it. The one who walks alone remains eternal. Let's go deeper. The desire for praise is not born from confidence. It is born from insecurity. When you truly know who you are, you do not seek others to remind you. You may appreciate recognition, but you do not need it. The man who needs to be seen will always perform. The man who needs only to be effective will always prevail. The first is an actor, the second, an architect. There is a kind of peace that comes when you stop seeking to be understood or liked. When you no longer fear judgment, every word you speak carries weight, because it comes from conviction, not calculation. You stop trimming your truth to fit fragile egos. You stop diluting your strength to appear humble. You stop explaining yourself to those committed to misunderstanding you. This is freedom, the kind that rattles those still living for approval. Now, remember this: detachment does not mean contempt. The detached man is not hostile toward praise or insult. He simply observes them. He can accept appreciation without dependency, and face criticism without collapse. When praised, he says, "That may be true." When insulted, he says the same. He knows that neither defines him. Both are opinions, and opinions change with the wind. The great danger in both praise and insult is that they keep you reactive. The praised man begins to perform for his audience. The insulted man begins to prove his critics wrong. In both cases, others dictate the direction of his energy. He becomes an actor in a play he didn't write, but the detached man writes his own script. His actions are guided by purpose, not perception. How do you reach that state? Through awareness and solitude. When you spend time alone, truly alone, without the noise of others, you begin to see how much of your identity has been built by external opinions. You start asking, who am I when no one is watching? What do I value when no one approves? Those answers reveal your real self, the one that cannot be flattered or insulted, because it does not depend on external mirrors. The crowd will always try to mold you. They will call you arrogant when you stop seeking approval. They will call you cold when you stop reacting. Let them speak. Their need to define you is proof of their own insecurity. You are not cold, you are centered. You are not arrogant, you are free. The paradox of detachment is this: once you stop needing praise, you begin to receive genuine respect. Once you stop reacting to insults, your enemies grow silent. They realize their words no longer reach you, that you no longer feed them power. Your silence becomes a mirror in which their own pettiness reflects back at them. To detach from praise and insult alike is to reclaim your energy from the world's emotional marketplace. It is to walk through the noise of human opinion as through a storm, feeling the wind, but never being carried by it. You listen, but you do not absorb. You observe, but you do not react. You know that both praise and insult fade, but your inner strength endures. The one who conquers the need for validation becomes unpredictable and therefore powerful. He cannot be bribed with compliments or controlled through criticism. He acts not to please, but to achieve. He speaks not to be admired, but to be understood. His peace depends on no one, and that terrifies the world, for the world cannot manipulate what it cannot move. So remember, if you rise on applause, you will fall on silence. If you break under insult, you were never whole. Detach from both, and you will stand firm whether loved or hated, seen or forgotten, crowned or condemned. The praise of the world is a passing echo. The insult of fools is the wind against stone. But the man who walks with self-mastery, who builds his worth on discipline, vision, and truth, he is unshakable, he is mentally untouchable. Fourth, learn to see people as they are, not as you wish them to be. Every man wears a mask. Even the kindest smile hides an interest. Study their desires, their fears, their motives. Most people are not good or evil. They are useful or dangerous. When you see through illusion, manipulation loses its grip on you. Do not hate the game, master it. The fourth lesson, learn to see people as they are, not as you wish them to be, is the key that unlocks both power and peace. Most suffering in this world comes not from what people do to us, but from our refusal to see them clearly. We invent illusions, paint them with our hopes, and when reality tears the portrait apart, we call it betrayal. But it was not betrayal. It was blindness. We did not see what was there. We saw what we wanted to be there. The wise man never makes this mistake. He looks at the world as it is, people as they are, and acts accordingly. Human nature does not change. It dresses itself in new fashions, hides behind modern words, but its essence remains: self-interest, pride, fear, envy, desire. These are the eternal currencies of human behavior. To understand them is to hold the code that governs the actions of kings and beggars alike. The greatest strategist is not the strongest or the richest. He is the one who sees through appearances. You must understand this. People show you who they are constantly, not through their words, but through their patterns. Words are disguises, patterns are truth. A liar may speak with the language of sincerity, but if you watch his actions, you will see inconsistency. A manipulator may smile and flatter, but his eyes will always measure. A friend who only appears when you succeed reveals not loyalty, but interest. People reveal themselves if you have the discipline to observe, not assume. But most fail to observe because they are attached to their expectations. We want to believe the lover is faithful, the friend is loyal, the leader is noble. We build dreams around these desires, and when the truth cracks through, we panic. We cry, how could they? Yet, if we had looked closely, the signs were always there, ignored because they contradicted our fantasy. The greatest pain often comes not from deception, but from our refusal to accept reality. Seeing people as they are requires a cold kind of honesty, not cruelty, but clarity. You must learn to separate affection from analysis. You can love someone deeply, but you must still study them. Trust must never be blind, it must be verified through observation. If someone's words and actions do not align, believe the actions. The tongue is cheap, the pattern is truth. Do not mistake this lesson for cynicism. It is not about distrust, it is about understanding. To see clearly is not to hate. It is to prepare. When you understand people's motives, you stop taking their actions personally. You no longer bleed from every betrayal because you expected it. You no longer cling to false promises because you recognize them as tools of persuasion. You move through human interactions like a chess player, seeing not just the piece before you, but the strategy behind it. Every person moves according to their needs. Some crave power, others admiration, others safety, control, validation, or freedom. Once you identify what drives a person, you can predict their behavior with precision. The one who fears loss will betray first. The one who craves praise will flatter. The one who hungers for control will manipulate subtly, making others believe his ideas are their own. Learn to read motives, not moods. The heart may lie, the need never does. The most dangerous illusion is assuming people are like you. This is the root of endless disappointment. You may value loyalty, but they value advantage. You may act out of principle, but they act out of gain. You may keep your word, but they see promises as temporary tools. When you judge others by your own nature, you miscalculate. You will trust too quickly, forgive too easily, and expose yourself unnecessarily. The wise understand, you are not the standard of the world. To see people as they are, you must learn to listen beyond the surface. When someone speaks, their words reveal desire, fear, and strategy. If you listen without the filter of emotion, most people listen to reply, the wise listen to reveal. Silence is your ally here. The less you speak, the more others will fill the air with their own truths. People cannot resist revealing themselves. Give them space, and their nature will emerge. Observation is an art, but detachment is its soul. You cannot see clearly while you want something from someone. Desire clouds perception. If you crave affection, you will see kindness where there is manipulation. If you crave approval, you will see wisdom in flattery. If you crave love, you will mistake attention for devotion. To see people as they are, you must first free yourself from what you want them to be. Once you learn this, relationships change. You stop forcing connections. You stop chasing explanations. You begin to move strategically, aligning yourself with those whose interests harmonize with yours, and keeping distance from those whose loyalty shifts with the wind. You stop trying to fix others and start managing them as they are. You realize that expecting a snake not to bite is not noble, it is foolish. A snake does what a snake does. Understanding this does not mean hatred, it means wisdom. Powerful people do not hate their enemies, they study them. They do not curse betrayal, they learn from it. They do not rage at hypocrisy, they expect it. This calm awareness makes them unstoppable, for while others drown in emotion, they are already planning their next move. When you stop demanding purity from the world can no longer corrupt you. Let's go deeper. The art of perception is not only about reading others, but about controlling what they see in you. Once you can see human nature clearly, you can predict what others expect and use that expectation to your advantage. If you know that flattery softens a person, use it strategically. If you know that ego blinds them, Let them underestimate you. Understanding others is not just defense, it is influence. However, this lesson also demands humility. To see others as they are, you must also see yourself as you are. Your ego will want to believe you are above manipulation, above desire, above weakness, but you are not. Self-awareness sharpens perception. If you understand your own motives, you can recognize them in others. The fool who lies to himself will always be deceived by others. The wise who understands his own darkness can see it reflected everywhere. Human nature is a mirror. Study it and you master the world. But remember, knowledge without restraint becomes arrogance. Do not use your understanding to destroy. Use it to navigate. The goal is not to grow cynical, but to grow free. Free from illusions, from naive hope, from disappointment. When you expect human behavior to follow human nature, you stop being surprised. You stop being easily hurt. You start playing the long game. In every interaction, ask yourself, what does this person want? Not what they say, what they want. That question exposes the truth. The answer reveals whether they are friend, foe, or tool. Once you see the world through this lens, manipulation loses its power. Betrayal becomes data, not devastation. You stop reacting emotionally and start responding strategically. When you see people as they are, compassion becomes wiser. You forgive more easily, not because you are weak, but because you understand. You do not expect perfection from a nature built on imperfection. You give loyalty only to those who prove capable of it. You walk with your eyes open, heart steady, and mind clear. So stop building illusions. Stop expecting the world to mirror your heart. See people not as angels or demons, but as players, each acting from their position, protecting their interests, pursuing their needs. When you understand this, nothing surprises you, nothing breaks you, and no one can deceive you for long. The world is not cruel, it is predictable. Only the blind call it cruel because they expect it to be fair, loyal, and pure. But when you see clearly, you are never betrayed, only informed. And that clarity, that calm acceptance of human nature, makes you untouchable. For no one can hurt the man who sees the blade before it strikes, the motive before it's spoken, and the truth before it is revealed. That is the art of perception. That is the fourth lesson, and that is how you rise, not by believing in what people should be, but by understanding what they are. Fifth, be prepared to stand alone. The crowd will never walk with those who think differently, for independence exposes their own weakness. Isolation is not punishment, it is refinement. In solitude, your mind becomes your ally, not your enemy. Those who cannot walk alone will always serve those who can. To stand alone is to understand the true anatomy of strength. It is to walk the silent corridors of your own mind, and not tremble at the echo of your footsteps. Most people fear loneliness because it strips them of distraction. They do not fear being alone. They fear meeting themselves without masks, without applause, without someone telling them who they are. Yet those who wish to rule their own fate must embrace this solitude. For it is in solitude that you discover not comfort but clarity. And clarity is power. You must first understand that the crowd does not love the independent. It tolerates them when convenient, praises them when useful, and destroys them when they stand in the way. Dependence is the currency of the common soul. People feel safe in belonging because belonging demands no thought, no courage, no responsibility. They trade their freedom for comfort, their authenticity for acceptance, their silence for applause. But the mind that seeks mastery must learn to stand where the noise of others cannot reach. To stand alone is not arrogance. It is the refusal to dilute your essence to fit into smaller minds. When you walk your path, you will feel the pull of conformity, the desperate whisper that tells you to soften, to agree, to belong. That whisper is the voice of mediocrity disguised as reason. It says, why fight when you can join? Why question when you can obey? But the one who wishes to lead must be deaf to that voice. For leadership, of others or of oneself, demands the courage to offend the comfortable and defy the expected. The weak think solitude is punishment because they depend on validation to exist. They need eyes upon them, applause to feel alive. Take away their audience, and they crumble into dust. The strong, however, use solitude as a forge. In isolation, they build their inner fortress brick by brick. Their thoughts sharpen, their emotions stabilize, their purpose becomes steel. When the noise of the world fades, you begin to hear your own reason. And when you can listen to yourself without fear, you are already beyond the reach of manipulation. Consider this: every great transformation in history began in solitude. Empires were imagined by men who sat alone with their visions. Philosophies were born in silence. Revolutions began in the hearts of those who dared to think differently. Solitude is not the absence of connection. It is the incubation of greatness. But most people never discover this, because the moment silence falls, they rush to fill it with noise, with distraction, with others' opinions. They would rather drown in chatter than swim through the quiet waters of their own mind. You must train yourself to endure that silence. At first it will feel like a void. You will hear your doubts, your fears, your regrets, the ghosts you've buried under constant activity. But endure them. Listen to them. For these voices are your teachers. They show you what still controls you. Each fear faced in solitude is a chain broken. Each truth accepted in silence is a weapon gained. When you emerge from that solitude, the world can no longer threaten you with loneliness. You've made peace with your own company. Standing alone also means standing apart from the beliefs of the masses, from the shallow ideals of popularity. You must be willing to lose people who demand your conformity. The price of authenticity is exile from the ordinary. But exile is not emptiness. It is freedom. For when you no longer need to be understood by others, you can finally understand yourself. And from that self, knowledge springs unshakable confidence. You will no longer bend to trends or opinions. Your value will come from within, anchored by conviction, not approval. Understand that solitude is not isolation from the world. It is independence within it. The wise man can walk among crowds yet remain untouched by them. He can engage, converse, and influence without absorbing their chaos. He does not retreat from society out of fear, but stands above it out of mastery. To stand alone means to be inwardly sovereign even while surrounded by others. Your emotions, your judgments, your direction, all guided by your will, not by their noise. In solitude you also learn discernment. You begin to see who is real and who merely reflects your desires. When you no longer need others to fill your void, you can recognize which connections are pure and which are parasitic. You will find that most relationships are built on dependency, not respect, on fear of loneliness, not love of truth. When you have faced solitude and survived it, you will no longer chase people. They will chase you, sensing the calm authority of one who needs no one. But beware, solitude has its dangers. If you do not use it with discipline, it turns into decay. A man alone without purpose becomes his own enemy. He breeds illusions, resentment, and madness. Solitude must be used, not wasted. You must fill it with creation, reflection, and strength building. Train your mind, refine your craft, study the world. Let your solitude serve as a workshop for power, not a prison of despair. The goal is not to escape people, but to emerge stronger among them. There will come a time when you must make a choice to walk the path of comfort with the crowd or to step into the uncertain silence of independence. Most will never take that step. They will hide behind collective identity, behind group morality, behind borrowed dreams. But those who do, those who walk alone, find something no crowd can give them: dominion over their own soul. When you stand alone, the world will test you. It will mock your difference, question your sanity, and tempt you with belonging. But each test is proof of your evolution. The stronger your solitude, the more the world tries to break it. Do not falter. Stand taller. The stones thrown at you are the price of your clarity. And remember, the same crowd that mocks your independence today will later follow your path in admiration, pretending they never doubted you. The man who stands alone is not heartless. He is focused. He loves few but with depth. He speaks rarely but with weight. He moves slowly but with certainty. His solitude becomes his strategy. While others seek validation, he seeks victory. While they seek distraction, he sharpens his mind. And when the storm arrives, as it always does, he stands unmoved, for he has already weathered the storm within himself. To stand alone, then, is to declare to the world, I am enough. I do not need the approval of the many to walk my path. I do not need constant company to know my worth. I have seen my fears, befriended my silence, and forged my will. The crowd may roar, but I remain calm. The world may turn, but I remain centered. For I have learned that solitude is not weakness. It is the highest form of strength. And once you master it, no power, no rejection, no betrayal can ever touch you again. Sixth, use silence as your greatest weapon. The world worships noise, opinions, arguments, explanations. But silence disarms the foolish and unsettles the arrogant. When you say less, you reveal less. The more others try to read you, the more power you gain. The strong do not announce their plans, they act, and let the results speak in whispers that echo louder than words ever could. Silence, the most underestimated weapon of the powerful. The masses worship sound. They believe the loudest voice wins, that persuasion is a game of endless speech, that constant explanation builds trust. But this is the illusion of the weak. The wise understand that silence is not emptiness. It is precision. It is the sharpened blade hidden behind calm eyes. It is restraint turned into control. The one who masters silence masters perception, and perception rules men far more than truth ever could. Silence unsettles the unguarded mind. People are terrified by what they cannot read. When you say less, you force them to imagine more. Their imagination will often betray them, creating stories more powerful and more fearful than anything you could say. This is the first secret of silence. It manipulates without effort. It turns the curiosity of others into chains around their own reason. They try to guess your intentions, your emotions, your plans, and in doing so, they expose their own. You remain still, and they exhaust themselves trying to understand you. Those who speak too much reveal too much. Words are windows to the mind, and when you leave them open, everyone sees inside. They see your fears, your desires, your insecurity. They learn how to manipulate you. A single unnecessary word can undo a carefully built image. A single reaction can reveal your weakness. The wise man learns to make his silence speak more eloquently than the babble of others. He allows mystery to surround him, for mystery breeds respect. People do not fear what they understand, they fear what they cannot define. Consider the difference between noise and presence. The loud man seeks validation. The silent man commands it. His stillness carries weight. In a room full of chatter, the quiet one becomes the center of gravity. Every glance turns toward him, waiting, wondering. This is the paradox of silence. By saying nothing, you become the most powerful voice in the room. The world is drawn to composure because it is so rare. Most are slaves to their impulse. Few can resist the temptation to speak. When you hold your tongue, you hold your power. Silence gives you time. Time to think, time to observe, time to predict. While others rush to fill the air with emotion and ego, you remain patient, watching, learning. You see who interrupts, who exaggerates, who lies to impress. You learn the rhythm of people's thoughts. You watch them reveal their weaknesses through speech. By the time they've finished, you already know more than they do. You have gathered intelligence, while they have scattered theirs like coins on the ground. But silence is not always quiet. It can be deliberate, a message stronger than words. Refusing to respond to insult is not submission, it is dominance. When fools provoke you, your silence declares, "You are not worth my energy." That restraint burns their pride more than any argument could. Silence exposes the insecurity of those who seek conflict. They cannot bear the weight of being ignored, for they thrive only when you engage. Deny them that satisfaction, and they will destroy themselves in frustration. Silence is also strategy. In negotiation, The one who speaks less always holds the upper hand. Words reveal urgency, silence reveals control. Let the other side fill the void, let them justify, over-explain, or stumble in discomfort. Every second of their nervous talking tightens the noose of their own concession. You, by contrast, remain composed, and composition always looks like strength. Even in warfare, silence is a weapon. Armies that move quietly strike first, rulers who plan in silence reign longer. In relationships, too, silence is a mirror. People show their loyalty when you withdraw your words. The ones who remain without needing constant reassurance are allies. Those who fade were merely parasites of attention. Your silence tests their depth. It exposes who values your presence, not your performance. Learn from this. Those who cannot handle your silence will never handle your power. There is a silence that comes from fear, and another that comes from mastery. You must know the difference. Fearful silence is avoidance, the kind born of insecurity, of not knowing what to say. That silence is weakness, and it invites predators. But the silence of mastery is deliberate. It is the silence that comes from knowing more than you say, and saying only what advances your cause. It is the silence of the hunter before the strike, of the ruler before the decree, of the mind before the revelation. The greatest kings and tacticians understood this. Speech is cheap, silence is costly. To remain silent when provoked, questioned, or flattered requires discipline. You must resist the temptation to defend yourself, to explain yourself, to correct others' misconceptions. Let them misunderstand. Let them talk. The wise gain advantage while the foolish waste energy trying to prove something. Every unnecessary explanation you give is a drop of power you surrender. Keep your thoughts sacred. Not everyone deserves access to them. Even in conflict, silence multiplies your impact. When you finally speak after long restraint, your words hit like thunder. They carry gravity because they are rare. The world listens, not because you demand attention, but because you've trained it to recognize the value of your voice. The more you speak, the less your words matter. The less you speak, the more they echo. Silence turns language into weaponry. Few words, carefully chosen, can end debates, destroy illusions, or ignite loyalty. Silence also protects your mind. Constant talking scatters your focus. You leak energy through meaningless expression. But silence gathers energy. It is the mental equivalent of sharpening a blade. In quiet observation, your intuition grows sharper. You begin to see patterns, in speech, behavior, emotion, that others miss. The world reveals its secrets only to those who can listen, not just hear. To master silence is to master awareness. However, silence is not isolation. You can be silent and still powerful in presence. You can speak less yet influence more. The key is to let your silence say something: confidence, control, certainty. People will interpret it according to their fears and desires. To some, it will appear as mystery, to others, arrogance. Let them decide. Every interpretation serves you. Silence allows others to paint your portrait, and in doing so, they reveal themselves more than they define you. To wield silence properly, you must pair it with observation. Watch eyes, gestures, tone. The quiet mind sees what noise conceals. Learn to respond not to words but to intentions. When you understand the motive behind speech, you can predict behavior. This is why the silent are feared. They see before they act, they think before they move. Their power comes not from manipulation, but from mastery of awareness. So learn this art, speak less, observe more. When you must speak, make every word an arrow. Do not waste your breath defending your worth. Your silence will do that for you. Do not rush to explain your plans. Execution will prove them. And never let your tongue outrun your mind. The world has ruined more kings with careless speech than with open rebellion. In the end, silence is not about withholding words. It is about directing power. It is the mark of a mind that no longer needs validation. When you no longer need to be understood, you become untouchable. The loud may seem strong, but they are desperate to be seen. The silent stand alone, calm, unreadable, sovereign. Their silence is not absence, it is dominance. Master it, and your presence will speak long after your words are gone. And finally, the seventh lesson: accept that cruelty exists within you. The difference between the weak and the strong is not the presence of darkness, but the mastery of it. You must learn to use your ruthlessness with precision, not rage. Mercy has its time, but when your survival or your purpose is at stake, strike without hesitation. The mind that denies its darker instincts is ruled by them. The one who embraces them becomes invincible. The final lesson is the most feared, the most misunderstood, and the most necessary for those who wish to become mentally untouchable. Accept that cruelty exists within you. The world has taught you to hide your darker nature, to suppress your ambition, your aggression, your hunger for control. You've been told that goodness means softness, that compassion means surrender. And so, people spend their lives pretending to be pure, while secretly devoured by the very impulses they deny. But true strength does not come from denial, it comes from understanding. Every man and woman carries within them both light and darkness. The desire to protect and the capacity to destroy, the will to love and the power to hurt. The weak deny this duality. The strong learn to command it, for you cannot master what you refuse to acknowledge. Let me tell you a truth: there is no purity in power. Every decision that shapes the world, every empire that has ever risen, every victory ever earned, all were born from the marriage of reason and ruthlessness. Kindness alone cannot build, for the world is not kind. Those who try to survive through goodness alone become tools for those who are not. You do not need to be cruel by nature. You must simply be capable of cruelty when the moment demands it. Mercy without judgment is weakness. Strength without restraint is chaos. The balance of the two, that is mastery. You see, cruelty is not merely physical harm or aggression. It is the capacity to act decisively without the paralysis of guilt. It is the ability to cut ties, to end illusions, to make choices that others are too sentimental to make. Sometimes you must let things die, relationships, beliefs, identities, before they rot your soul. The mind that cannot destroy what is harmful will always be enslaved by it. The one who can, though his heart trembles, is free. The world will test your mercy. It will place before you people who exploit your compassion, situations that prey on your hesitation. They will praise your kindness while they drain your strength, and when you finally resist, they will call you cold, heartless, cruel. Let them. Their accusations are confessions, admissions of their dependence on your softness. To be mentally untouchable, you must learn to let others misunderstand your strength. Their comfort is not your duty. You must understand. There is cruelty in saying no, in walking away, in protecting your boundaries. But this cruelty is sacred, for it preserves your power. It is not the cruelty of malice, it is the cruelty of wisdom. The lion does not apologize for killing, it simply acts according to its nature. You, too, must reclaim your instinct to defend, to assert, to command. The modern world has convinced people that dominance is evil. Yet they still bow to it. The truth is simple. The one who suppresses his darkness becomes prey to those who embrace theirs. The mastery of cruelty begins with awareness. Observe yourself in moments of anger, in times of pain, in the face of betrayal. Notice how your mind shifts, how quickly compassion turns to fury, how easily love turns to vengeance. This is your raw power. Do not run from it, study it. Learn its rhythm, its triggers, its appetite. For only through awareness can you transform it from chaos into control. The purpose is not to indulge in cruelty, but to govern it. The man who cannot be dangerous will never be truly good. In warfare, strategy demands sacrifice. You may need to harm one to save many. In leadership, you may need to dismiss those who weaken the structure, even if your heart resists. In personal growth, you may need to abandon comforting lies that have kept you safe. Each act feels cruel, but only because weakness has taught you that pain equals evil. Yet sometimes pain is purification, destruction is transformation. To prune the tree is to make it grow stronger. Even love requires cruelty. To love someone deeply is to be willing to tell them the truth. Not the truth they want, but the truth they need. Real love wounds the ego, but saves the soul. Most cannot handle that kind of honesty. They prefer comfort over growth. But if you dare to love with clarity, not indulgence, you will hurt, and you will heal. This is divine cruelty, the kind that refines rather than ruins. Understand this: cruelty without purpose is barbarism. Cruelty with purpose is power. The goal is not to become ruthless in heart, but ruthless in mind, to make decisions unclouded by weakness or fear. When emotion demands hesitation, reason must command execution. There will be times when the world forces you to choose between mercy and survival. Choose survival, for only the living can be merciful. You will face situations where your moral comfort will clash with necessity. The weak will ask, "What is the right thing to do?" The strong will ask, "What must be done?" This difference separates the dreamers from the doers, the broken from the undefeated. To hesitate in moments of crisis is to invite ruin. The heart can weep later, the mind must act now. But remember, to wield cruelty is to bear its weight. Every ruthless decision demands reflection, not remorse. You must understand why you did what you did and own it fully. Do not hide behind excuses. Do not cloak your choices in false virtue. Stand before your conscience and say, "Yes, I chose strength." That honesty will purify you. Regret weakens, reflection strengthens. In mastering this darkness, you will begin to see the world with new eyes. You will no longer be shocked by betrayal, manipulation, or greed. You will expect it. You will anticipate it. You will see the self-interest beneath every act of generosity, the hunger behind every smile. And yet, you will not grow cynical, because you will also see that your own nature mirrors theirs. You will understand humanity as it is, not as you wish it to be. This is true wisdom: compassion guided by realism, mercy guided by strength. Do not mistake emotional restraint for cruelty. Sometimes silence, distance, or cold logic are the only acts of sanity in a world drowning in sentiment. There are times when you must harden yourself, not because you lack feeling, but because the situation demands clarity. The surgeon must cut to heal. The general must sacrifice to win. The parent must discipline to teach. The soul must endure darkness to become whole. So embrace this lesson without shame. There is a necessary cruelty in greatness. To lead, you must sometimes break hearts. To evolve, you must sometimes destroy parts of yourself. To survive, you must sometimes become what others fear. But remember, cruelty is a tool, not a throne. The moment you begin to enjoy it, it consumes you. The moment you forget why you wield it, it owns you. Balance your ruthlessness with wisdom. Let your heart advise, but never command. When you learn to summon cruelty at will and dismiss it at peace, you have mastered yourself. The world can wound you, betray you, test you, but it cannot shake you, for your mind no longer fears its own shadow. That is what it means to be mentally untouchable. Not to be pure, not to be perfect, but to be whole. To stand between light and darkness, using both as weapons, neither as masters. When you can look into your own depths and not flinch, when you can face your inner cruelty and use it with purpose, you will have reached the highest form of strength. And from that day onward, no enemy will ever truly scare you again. For the fiercest one has already been conquered: yourself. Understand this: to be mentally untouchable is not to be emotionless. It is to be strategic. It is to rise above your own chaos, to look at your pain and say, "You will serve me now." When others crumble in the storm, you will walk through it with steady steps, not because you feel no fear, but because you command it. So walk into the world not as a beggar of peace, but as an architect of power. Let every lesson carve away your weakness until nothing remains but steel. Be the calm in chaos, the silence in noise, the predator among the careless, when your mind belongs to no one, not to praise, not to pain. You will finally become what few ever dare to be: mentally untouchable.